Alright, I don't know if I'm the right person to be making this type of video because I'm not a well-established creator yet, but you never know who's watching, if Blizzard will see it or not. So I want to leave my feedback and my beliefs. You never know who may or may not react to this video. Whatever. I'm not really in it for that. What I'm in it for is the love of the game and the game that I am failing to love. Um, so we just got the patch notes for the coming season, and I will probably give my thoughts on some of those over the course of time. But I want to talk about why Diablo is bad beyond just that update. So I made myself a little bit of a list here, a little bit of a script. I'm shooting off the hip here, so if I talk a little slow, I apologize. Feel free to speed me up, whatever you got to do. But ultimately, leave your comments below what you agree with, what you don't. Your feedback for Blizzard in general, regards to the stuff that I say. But yeah, like and subscribe. That would help me out as well. So the first thing is the story. I know a lot of people love it. They say the story is great, and maybe it was for them. So I might be a little bit bias here. But I think for every one of the people that enjoyed the story, there may be another one of me who did not enjoy the story. Now, I'm going to explain to you why. When I started the story, I had played the beta, both betas, and I had already done, chapter one in depth. And I was kind of like, all right, well, I don't really want to dive into that quest that I've already done. I know the rewards. You get the legendary at the end of the second dungeon, the necklace. I don't want to get that at level, 20 or whatever I'm at when I get there. I want to get that a little bit later so it's a little bit more valuable. So what I did was I started the game. I just started playing naturally, progressively. Um, if I saw an aspect dungeon I needed, I did that. If I saw a public event, I did that. Saw a side quest, I did that. I basically was doing everything in between on my goal, which my first goal was to go to the chapter 2 story since I had not experienced that. But by the time I got there, after I'd done all that stuff, I was like level 20, 30 already. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I can go do that first story, knock it out, and then we'll jump right into this one. At that point, I'm like level 30, and I start to wonder, where's my horse? Traveling sucks. I don't like this. It's really slow. I need that horse. So, uh, against my, what I wanted to do, I looked it up. When you get the horse, it says it's part of the story. So I'm like, all right, well, it's not a matter of level. I need to push the story, just match the story until I get this horse. It says in the horse, what the fuck is that guy called? The guy where you change your horse cosmetics and shit. That to get the horse, you had to beat Donan's story, and Donan was the chapter 2 guy. So I'm like, oh, I'll get it at the end of chapter 2. Wrong. So I fly through chapter 2. I don't get the horse. Ultimately, that story was kind of like, like it was kind of impactful, but not really. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but like, I agree with Ackman. I didn't even remember the tree guy or his name um, until I stumbled back over there while I was looking for Altars of Lilith. I was like, oh yeah, this fucking guy. So I rushed through chapter 2. I went to chapter 3. I pretty much rushed through chapter 3. And again, like none of the story was very impactful, without really spoiling anything, because everyone knows the goal of the story. We're going to kill Lilith. So you're looking for the means to kill Lilith. So it's like, all right, you go, you're looking for the means, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I get my horse finally. I'm like, yes, great. Now I can play the game. Well, now I'm like level 40. I finally get my horse. I'm like level 40. I'm like, all right, well, what about world tier 3? Because the game's too easy. I want to advance my world tier. I go over there and it's like, you need to beat the story. So I'm like, well, shit, I can't even raise the world tier until I beat the story. So now my goal was to beat the story. So I just go and fist fuck the shit out of the story. And there's a point, again, I don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't played it, but there's a point where like the stuff you're trying to do it just doesn't work, and your character's like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna go kill Lilith now, and they're like, are you sure, dude? Like, I don't know if it's gonna work, and you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go beat her. I'm just gonna go beat her ass. And you do, and that's the game, and she's really easy, and it doesn't seem, it's very anticlimactic, and I don't know if this is just because of the way that I was forced to play the story, or that the story is really actually as bad as it was. It was very anticlimactic. Not a lot of it felt impactful because from the gate, you know, like, all right, we're out to kill Lilith, and at one point, your character's just like, all right, fuck all this shenanigans, I'm just gonna go kill her, and you go kill her, and it's like, all right, well, at least they leave the story open for what happens afterwards with Mephisto and the chick that takes the crystal or whatever, you know. Again, it's Diablo. We all know what happens at the end of every one of these games. Someone takes a crystal and, you know, whatever. Same shit, different day, right? Um, and that, but like that, you can still operate within that same shit, different day means and have the story be impactful and have like a good climax. And I feel like the story was severely lacking that, and to further solidify my belief on that, God, this video might end up being long. I apologize in advance. But they want you to, not that they want you to, but they give you the means to skip the story every time. And that's the thing that they kind of want you to skip when you replay the game. So that to me says, well, yeah, our story is kind of shitty. Let's give people the means to skip that so they don't play it over and over again and realize how bad it actually is. And you see, Renown's on my list as well. Nobody wants to farm Renown, they still don't get it. I feel like they completely missed the mark on these two things, where the story should be the thing that you repeat, that you re-experience each time, because they put a lot of work into some of the cutscenes, which again, the two best cutscenes in this game, they showed off pre-launch. So I'm with Ackman on this game having shitty a shitty story in terms of cutscenes too, compared to like say Diablo 2. And I think Blizzard knew this, that they showed off the two best cutscenes in the game pre-launch, and pretty much spoiled them going into it. And that was by Three May Come, the trailer, and the Anarius versus Lilith scene, which they don't show all of um, pre-launch, but they showed pretty much a majority of it. And yeah, I believe that the renown grind is the thing that we should be doing once and never doing again, because it fucking sucks and nobody likes it except for Quinn, apparently, because he's some kind of weird reverse gatekeeping bastard. And the story is the thing that we should be. I love Quinn, by the way. That's not a dig on him. The story is the thing that we should be replaying each time, re-experiencing each time, and coming to know and love. But I don't know. I feel like maybe Blizzard realized that they missed the mark on the story, and they're like, oh, let's give people the means to skip that so they don't play it over and over and realize just how much depth it's lacking. And you know, let's have them regrind this the renown thing, which has them retraveling the world over and over again, which again, the world is on here too, so I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Uh, but let me stay on track of the list here. Uh, in some way, I got story and renown out of the way. Uh, the story sucks and the renown grind sucks, and yeah, I don't know how they can fix it at this point. I feel like maybe if they just reverse the mentality of regrind the story every time, not regrind the renown every time, maybe that would solve it for me personally, but not everyone. I don't know. Leave your comments, whatever. Classes. Okay, the classes, they're fucking boring. They're fucking boring. I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I don't want to play Barbarian for the fucking third or fourth Diablo in a row. I don't give a shit about Rogue. It's pretty much the same shit as it's basically a demon hunter in essence, but Rogue, or you know, Rogue from the one or two. Um, like Rogue is just, it's just bland. Whatever. You know, it's not that interesting. Necromancer has been in the last three Diablos. whatever. Again, like I was interested in playing Necromancer because I never really got in depth with it in the other games or got a good chance with it. And playing it this game felt miserable. So ultimately, I'm just putting it in the wall. It's boring. It's boring bullshit because they've already put it in other games and they couldn't make anything like remarkable out of it in this game. So who the fuck cares? And then sorcerers, just whatever. It's a bland class. Is the worst class somehow. Which it looked like it would be one of the best originally, and now it turned out to be the worst. And again, it's just sorcerer, wizard, whatever. Again, uh, so who the fuck cares? Like, it's the same. The druid is the only thing that's like new and interesting, and I I don't know, like off the top of my head, it's hard to think of classes that they could go with. They could try to go a little bit outside of the world of that we know of sanctuary, kind of that medieval. They could do a little bit of medieval, like Eastern, like travelers from the far east came to the west to sanctuary in search of great and terrible powers. So you could have like a samurai and a ninja class, and stuff like that. Maybe have like a pirate or a buccaneer type of class or something. There's a lot of like beach type things. You know, people could have traveled by boat to come to sanctuary. I don't know. I know that's a lot to do on short time, but they had a lot of time to build this game, and the fact that they decided to take pretty much four classes that they are bread and butter and like basic bitch classes. And then they took the druid, which is like the only kind of unique one. But going into the game, druid looked like it would be the worst class to play. I feel like they really missed the mark on this. The classes are fucking boring as fuck, and I ultimately don't give a shit about playing a whirlwind barbarian every Diablo. If that's gonna be every Diablo where you take the same classes that worked from two or three Diablos to get and just recycle them, it's bullshit. Like if you're gonna do that plus make something new. But instead you have four copy paste classes and one kind of unique one that ultimately I didn't have interest in playing because it looked terrible. And now I'm undecided. I did try a little bit of druid, and it's too little, too late. Like I'm already at the point where I'm annoyed with playing the game, and now I have to re-level this class all the way up just to see if maybe I prefer this one over another one. Like, honestly, I feel like you should have fun playing any of the classes, and any of the classes should feel unique and interesting, and none of them really do. So that may be an unpopular opinion, but the classes fucking stuck in this game. The world is massive. There's a lot in the world. There's a lot to do in the world, and this is both a blessing and a curse because of the way that the game, the pacing progresses, the way that you progress through the game. When you start without that horse, it really feels bad to travel around, and it takes you way too long to get the horse. I've already explained how that experience impacted my story progression and the way that I felt actually leveling and playing through the game absolutely ruined it. I feel like it could have catastrophic effects for any new player coming into the game, having to explore this massive world without having a better or quicker means to get around. And it didn't help the fact that I was playing a necromancer, the slowest class in the game. Um, but yeah, the world is just too big, and there's way too much to find and do, which isn't bad. But the fact that a lot of it is tied to that renown system again is why it becomes bad. So yeah, I'm not really complaining about the size of the world. I think it's great that they went as expansive as they did, but I hope that they can do something to make traversing it maybe as a new player a little easier, a little more. I know they wanted to choose your own adventure style, But again, I feel like that drastically uh, hindered my progression when I played the story, my ability to um, appreciate the story. So maybe they could add a little bit more guidance into where you should go and when you should go there, be there, to try to push you into getting that horse, or maybe even get you the horse a little earlier at the end of chapter 2 instead of chapter 3. Uh, but yeah, that just sucks. I also think that like the cap on having to beat the story to get to World Tier 3 is a huge bummer. They should remove that because again, I hit level 50 before I beat the story, and I wanted to progress it, and then I had to beat the story. And at that point I was like, I'm in progression brain for World Tier. Fuck this story. This story is now a problem that is in my way. It's not something that I'm looking forward to enjoying. It is a problem that I need to get out of my way so I can progress further. So I hope they can make the transitional periods between the worlds, when you get the horse, when you can go to World Tier 3. I hope they improve that because, yeah, that just sucks. I'm going to shift over to timed content because that's another piece of the world that's absolute shit. I don't like timed content. I don't want to log into your game all day, every day. I don't want to have to watch a website to know when I need to log in to do Hell Tides. I don't want to watch a website to know when I can do a Legion event or when I can do a world boss. These things, you need timers in game so I can prepare and try to do them when they're available, or you need to make a way that these are not timed in some way that I can just sign up and go and do them. Like maybe you can sign up to do one world boss a day. So you sign up and it queues you with a bunch of people and puts you into, that partitioned instance boss area where you fight the boss and that's it. Same with a Legion event. I don't know how you can fix this, but it's fucking obnoxious to like, oh well, I'm playing the game now. I need this material from a Hell Tide, but there's no Hell Tides. All right, I'm gonna go do a dungeon or two. So I do a couple dungeons. Oh, there's a Hell Tide up. Oh, now there's only 3 minutes left. Oh shit, it must have popped when I went into the first dungeon and I didn't notice. Like, I fucking hate this. I really hate timed content in video games. This is not a mobile game. Get rid of time exclusive content. It's fucking stupid. Or add some kind of a means to matchmake or group up for it, or a timer in game, something. Again, if I have to use a third party website to play your game, like fuck your game. It's bad. It's obviously missing something huge that the community needs. And that should be a wake up call. If the community has to make something to make your game better, you missed something. Fix your game. CC and on death effects. Way too much CC. So we all know that this vulnerable issue is massive. That every build is completely reliant on vulnerable. Every build is also kind of reliant on unstoppable, and that's because of the CC spam. They put this overbearing CC spam. You're fucking stunned. You're slowed. You're feared. You're dazed. You're dizzy. You're rooted. You're whatever. And it's one after the other after the other. You just get it spammed on you constantly. It's frustrating as hell. And in the process, there's on death effects happening around you that you can't fucking see. This is miserable design. It's a really cheap and stupid way to add difficulty. This isn't even difficulty. This is just ways they're adding ways to kill hardcore characters for no reason. That's it. Because this only serves as an annoyance for a softcore character, and as a hardcore character, it's just a completely random way that you can die. So every build is relying on having some form of unstoppable. Unless you play in softcore, you can avoid that if you choose. It's basically like Diablo 3, where in hardcore you had to have a life save, whereas in softcore you could sacrifice that to add something to your build. In Diablo 4, you basically need unstoppable in hardcore, or if you play softcore, you can sacrifice it and just whatever. If you die, you die. Who gives a fuck? But yeah, on death effects, you can rarely see them. Some of them are just last way too long. The fire one like tracks you as the little things are shooting out. Like the enemy died fucking 10 minutes ago, and I'm still dodging these fireballs coming out. I just want to loot my shit and move on. This is shit design. It just serves as an annoyance. It's a cheap way to make the game feel difficult, but it's not. It's just a fucking obnoxious means of design. Get rid of it, tone it down, whatever. Shorten the shorten the time that the on death effects lasts. Maybe make them more visible, raise their priority, especially in low graphics mode. Like in low graphics mode, I understand you're reducing a lot of the stuff to help people with lower, devices, but why can't I see some of the on death effects? Like, why would you remove them entirely? Are you fucking stupid? Yeah, actually, you are. And that's apparent because of the patch you just put out recently. Dungeons feel like shit still. I don't know how you can fix this. You probably can't because you guys seemingly are bad at everything. But yeah, the dungeons feel like shit. They just take too long. They're too vast for slower classes like Necromancer. You frequently encounter the gate to the next area, the dungeon, but you haven't met all of the obstacles to open that gate. I don't know, man. At this point, I feel like if you get to that gate and you haven't found everything, clicking that gate should just make the rest of the dungeon fucking bum rush you. In like a horde horde wave style battle. I don't know. That would actually be fun. But yeah, Blizzard doesn't want us having fun, so the dungeons ultimately, yeah, they just suck. It's just not fun design. Um, and yeah, so did that cover all the stuff in the top of this base itemization? We all know that's shit. I don't really need to dive too much into the itemization. But yeah, it's terrible. Uh, I'll talk a little bit about it. There's one thing I wanted to talk about. It's the cooldown reduction on helmet. They make a note in the patch about how they feel it's too necessary of a stat. If you feel that something is necessary for every build, why are you nerfing that? Like, if you feel something's necessary for every build, then put that on every piece of gear. Have every helmet have cooldown reduction and 3 random rolls. Have every amulet have cooldown reduction and 3 random rolls. Have every, shield have cooldown reduction and 3 random rolls. Have every boot have movement speed and 3 random rolls. I don't know. Like, if something is pivotal to playing the game and important to improving your character in drastic ways that everybody needs it, instead of nerfing that stat, how about just make that stat appear on every piece of gear? We're still fighting the RNG for the 3 other stats, or 3 other stats that appear on the roll, and the total roll that we get. We could still get a low cooldown roll on that piece of gear. So I don't know. If something is that important that every build seemingly must have it, then put just that is an important stat. Put it on every piece of gear. Don't nerf the stat. That doesn't make any sense. It was just how we're just gonna dive right into unintelligible nerfs. Why everybody needs this? If everybody needs movement speed, if everybody needs cooldown reduction, why are you gonna nerf stuff like that? If everybody needs damage reduction, why are you gonna nerf stuff like that? Make sure we're getting it on the pieces of gear that it should be coming on. It's fucking stupid. I think that fighting RNG of 3 random rolls by having 1 mandatory roll in every piece of gear might actually improve the itemization quite a bit. It'll make it slightly less overbearing, especially as they add more affixes, add more stuff, add more legendaries. The more stuff they add, that dilutes the pool and makes it harder for us to get the stuff that we want. So maybe start making some mandatory rolls on gear, or maybe different tiers of gear that have multiple mandatory roles. Like maybe you get like a sacred could have one mandatory, or an ancestral can have one mandatory role and the three random ones, and then whatever the next tier is could have two mandatory that are like premium stats that you know that we all want, and then the other two are random. I don't know, but the itemization in this game, it's really unintuitive. It's really bad. All they did was put a lot of fucking useless junk stats that aren't necessarily useless junk stats. It's just a lot of conditional stuff. So they create all these scenarios where you have to play the game in a way that's stand far from the enemies, stand close to your minions, slow the enemy, stun the enemy, you know, make sure to apply vulnerable, make sure to run around in circles and cluck like a chicken 6 times, and after clucking 6 times your damage increases 40%. Fuck you, man. It's just annoying. Instead of just playing the game, and uh I'm playing this weird rotation of applying effects to and creating scenarios for myself to create premium damage opportunities. It just ultimately it's not fun. It's a lot of weird micromanagement that doesn't necessarily need to be there. So stop with the unintelligible nerfs. Stop nerfing stuff that doesn't need to be nerfed. Classes that don't need to be nerfed. Nerf the classes that are obviously broken, and and to nerf them properly. Like they still haven't fixed the Necromancer Bone Spear, it seems. But I don't know. I don't really play that class. All I can tell you is that the stuff on the bottom of this list is stuff that's only really going to impact hardcore players, not hardcore the realm, hardcore like less casual players. Casual players are probably only going to notice the stuff above. I actually didn't touch the EXP, but that's a short fix. Let me go back there. The EXP grind sucks. It's really slow. It's fucking terrible. Solo Southbound is miserable. Hand-holding meta sucks. It seems that they nerfed that slightly, but it's probably not going to be that bad. You need to improve the rate at which we gain XP as a solo player, as a solo self-bound player. It sucks. It's way too slow, and there's no reason why I can only farm 10 levels above me to get a bonus experience. If I'm solo and farming, I think this should be a solo only thing. If you're solo and farming something 50 levels higher than you, you should get 50 times bonus experience or something. You know, if you're in a group, no, obviously that shouldn't be the case because you can power level way too fast like that. But solo, if I can get powerful enough to kill things that are 50 levels higher than me, I should absolutely be rewarded for my time and effort to kill things that are 50 levels higher than me. Back down. So yeah, the things at the bottom of the list are things that casual players are not really going to notice as much. The unintelligible nerfs, which I already touched on. The bugs not addressed. When I dodge, I still get frozen in place. Why? Why have they not even just apologized? We know there's an issue where some players are getting stuck after dodging, rooted in place after dodging, with no, you know, no reason to see why. Like, I'm not dazed, I'm not stunned. There's nothing. I don't know if my foot's stuck in the floor, clipped into the floor or something. I don't know. Sometimes it takes multiple dodges to fix this. Why is this not fixed? Why is it not addressed? At least apologize that's happening. Because I don't know. I'm getting upset that like they're noting and fixing all these bugs. Meanwhile, the game like half the time is unplayable for me. This is something that would get me killed often if I played hardcore. So I don't. I play softcore because if I dodge and I get rooted in place and enemies surround me and kill me, I don't lose my character entirely due to this dumb bug. So I don't know what this bug is, but it's not addressed. And there's probably tons of other bugs that I'm not thinking of at the time. I just feel like this video is getting too long, and there's probably way too many bugs to even consider. So if you got bugs that they haven't addressed since beta, comments, list them, in case anybody watches this and cares, you know, and picks up on it, whatever. Armor and resist, the whole shebang, the whole system is fucking stupid. Armor should not include resists. Resist should work. Their excuse for making or for resist not working was really lame. Well, the problem is the scaling. You see that they work properly at the beginning of the game, but we didn't account for the end game, so they don't scale properly for the end game. They don't fucking work, man. This just sorry. We're sorry. They don't work, and we don't know how to make them work. We're figuring it out. Whatever. I don't know, but they don't fucking work. And to make matters worse, that armor is basically adds to your resist as well. It should not do that. Like armor should be your reduction versus physical damage. Resist should be your reduction from elemental. If anything, armor and resist should combine, add to your resistant versus crowd control. Something to consider for your engineers, your system engineers, if they can even do anything. I'm sorry, and that's I apologize. I'm getting a little heated and throwing flames your guys' way when you're doing hard work. I apologize. This is passion, not hatred. But please, guys, like fine tune this, fix this. Casual players aren't going to notice this, but hardcore players absolutely do. And you know, we're constantly arguing about like how the resists don't work and they're pointless. You keep adding affixes and buffs to resistances on gear and stuff, but they don't work. So like stop doing that. Just fix the system entirely, rebuild it, whatever you got to do. The final thing, so I can end this video and drink some drink. The negative quality of life. So between Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, there was a lot of reverse quality of life. I don't understand their logic for this. It doesn't make any fucking sense. This is a game we will build over time. We will figure out the quality of life over time, and we will implement it as we are able to. Okay, but why did you take the lessons of the past and completely fucking erase them? Why? I don't understand your logic there. When I Nightmare dungeons are essentially greater rifts, okay? And you learned over time that eventually, at the end of the greater rifts, we needed a blacksmith, that we needed the gem vendor, and we needed the blacksmith for a reason. Because we start plowing through these things, we pick up lots of gear, we want to get rid of it, keep plowing through the dungeons, and just go, go, go. We're all gas, no brakes. Okay, so why has that lesson from the past been removed from this game? Why, when I get to the end of the Nightmare dungeon, is there no blacksmith? Or why does the gem kiosk thing, why does that also not have a blacksmith type feature where maybe it doesn't work as a full blacksmith where I can upgrade gear, do blah, 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 but I at least want to dismantle stuff. I want to salvage items. Like, just let me salvage the trash and move on with my life. This doesn't make any sense. Another example is controller design. There was a lot of controller features that Diablo 3 had. The way the Diablo 3 played with the controller felt way better at times. The targeting was better, the dodging was better. Like everything felt way better than it does in Diablo 4. And it's like, okay, so why did you completely rebuild the controls for this game and leave out some of the quality of life that was there in the previous game? Like the targeting in this game is horrible. The base dodge setup is horrible. You can change it, but it messes up a bunch of other features. It's really annoying. Like trying to change your keybinds for the controller, I found is very annoying in this game. Trying to make it feel like Diablo 3, you can kind of get there, but not really. It's just bad. And there's a lot of things like this in the game that I feel like the previous Diablos had and did very well, that this game was like, nah, what do you mean? We did stuff in the past? I don't remember any of that. I wasn't here. which is probably true. I don't think anybody that is working on this game was on any of the previous Diablos. So, of course, they don't know what was going on, right? Um, but yeah, I don't really need to get into the patch notes because pretty much everybody already touched on these. Basically, look, Diablo. I love Diablo. Diablo One. Again, I've said this in the past. Diablo One was my favorite game. I carried the disc around everywhere. You know, I was a kid. I would take it to every computer that I had access to. I would install it. No one would ever even know it was there because no one knew how to run DOS prompts back in the day, and that's how you had to launch the game. Like, look, I love Diablo, man. This was like this is a piece of my life, you know, and not being able to enjoy this game because of all of the glaring issues is very upsetting for me. So I know a lot of people out there are probably like, if you hate the game, why would you play it? Just, just move on. And yeah, I'm at the point where I'm about to move on. But I'm disheartened because I'm passionate about this IP and, you know, this type of game. And I really wanted it to be good and to have fun with it for a long time. But unfortunately, every time I log in, I find myself just it feels like a slog. I'm not having fun. Everything feels like a chore. All these aspects of the game feel bad. And it's like it's getting harder and harder each day to see the good. But yeah, like and subscribe, please. It will really help me out. Comment below. I don't upload that often. Hopefully that'll change in the future. I'm not sure which way it'll go. I did have a job interview recently, so I'll either start uploading a lot more or significantly less. But hopefully I don't stop uploading altogether because I do like making content and I do like talking about video games because it's a huge passion of mine. I am an old man. I've been doing this for about 39 years. So, peace.